Rhett from the channel Rhett and Link recently put up an Instagram video talking about his deconstruction and deconversion journey, and couldn't have been more ambiguous. Let's jump into this story. I'm going to attempt to break it down. Deconstruction is a sensitive topic. I get it, okay? And I am not afraid to talk to folks who have deconstructed, folks who have deconverted. I'm actually attempting to bring out one of the leading voices in this movement. Believe it or not, I was just texting with him yesterday. Actually, his comments right on the screen. Tim from the New Evangelicals. So I prefer and enjoy having these conversations and really getting to the core of the issue, okay? And whenever I do with Tim, he gets frustrated with me because I think Tim is a great debater, but I think he's ready for the smoke. No, I'm just playing. I love Tim from the New Evangelicals, but we have a lot of really good conversations. So let's play this and make sure the audio's on and make sure you can stop it so I could chime in.
Did you know that Christians who deconstruct have abandoned the authority of God and made themselves their own authority, essentially becoming their own God? You may have...
Yep, pretty much. Yep, nailed it. I love the opening of this.
Strong opening.
Strong opening, right?
It's crazy that the further he got from Jesus, the more he became like the European painting version of Jesus.
The more he walked away from Jesus, the more he started looking like the white Eurocentric Jesus. Oh, man, that's funny. All right.
I've heard that before. I definitely have, because I used to think it and I used to say it. That is, until I deconstructed. I may have put it a little less harshly and said something like, you're leaning on your own understanding instead of leaning on God. But the implication was clear. These people who deconstructed were pridefully trusting themselves rather than trusting God. Now, of course, I see things differently now. I don't speak for everyone who's deconstructed or is deconstructing, but I do think that it's helpful because there's so much talk about it to hear from somebody who's sort of been through the process, because I think we can all understand one another a little bit better.
I appreciate these sorts of conversations. Listen, I've always been fairly consistent in that I think reconstruction is a good thing. And I hope, and God willing, that channels like mine would exist to help people construct properly the first time. Because as you hear folks talk about deconstruction, you just go, well, wait a minute, you bought into this very narrow, myopic view of Christianity that's not reflective of the rest of historical Christianity, as we'll kind of get into in this specific video.
Deconstruction didn't start with a decision to lean on my own understanding. And honestly, it felt a lot like the opposite of that. When I was a Christian, I spent a lot of time making sure that what I believed was true, and that usually meant going to sources that had arguments that supported what I already believed. But it turns out that was pretty difficult to do without running into ideas that were critical of Christianity, because those were the very ideas that I was going to those sources to develop a defense for. And that's when I learned that the bulk of people...
So basically you were in an echo chamber. Not only were you going to get information within your own feedback loop, you were also not really engaging with stuff outside of your feedback loop. And this was the norm of him as a Christian, which I don't know if that's helpful. Like, I feel like as a solid Christian, you should be able to steelman non-Christian arguments.
A lot of different disciplines, whether that be biology or astronomy, geology, psychology, anthropology, archaeology, neuroscience, and in some cases, biblical studies, had come to conclusions that called my particular conservative evangelical Christian belief system into question. This shook me up a lot, and for the first time in my life, I seriously considered the question, what if I'm wrong? I'd never really done that before.
You've never asked, what if you're wrong? You've never had that thought in your mind. You walked with Jesus for decades and never stopped to slow down and think, what if I don't have all the answers? Really?
Yeah, man.
And this sounds like this is his perception of Christianity. It's amazing.
I kept reading, and eventually I got to, I think I might be wrong. And then I kept reading some more, and eventually I landed on, I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. I was scared. I was unsettled. I was confused. But I felt like I had a choice. I, a guy with only a bachelor's degree who had read a few books, could conclude that all these people who had devoted their lives to studying these subjects so deeply were wrong. Or I could trust them, essentially leaning on their understanding.
So he wasn't leaning on his own understanding. He went and got experts that challenged him, and I'm sure those are the leaning on their understanding as the experts that helped him deconstruct his faith.
I can already hear the old me saying, aha, I got you. You made the mistake of trusting human wisdom over God's wisdom. I never talk like that.
I think it's pretty funny that he makes a caricature.
He's like mocking, but not. But then like catches that he's mocking in real time.
Of his own Christian past.
Right.
But then fits his own Christian past into the like Southern Bible Belt, like believing Christian, which I don't think he was Southern. I think they were like Midwest or whatever. Mm-hmm. Which is just funny. It's like what we see in Hollywood, where it's like there's always the stereotype. It's like it's the racist conservative, the Little Dicky show.
Right.
And he does it to himself, but he was never that.
Yeah, he does it in real time, catches it in real time, and then goes, "Yeah, but I was." So he kind of showing your hand here, but go ahead.
But I don't think that is quite the gotcha that my old self thinks that it is, because I think that my particular understanding of God back in those days was actually based on my adherence to a very particular school of thought about God, a 21st century American conservative evangelical Christian one. And so even though I would have told you that I got my view of God from the Bible and from the Holy Spirit, that's what I was trusting, I was actually getting my understanding of the Bible and the Holy Spirit, how the Holy Spirit worked, from people.
From your version of Christianity, a Western, he would say evangelical, I would guess there's some fundamentalism in there, understanding of Christianity, right? Not a robust, multi-generational, multinational, historic approach to Christianity. Hey, you want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here.
Specifically conservative, or mostly conservative evangelical Christians.
Right.
So I was trusting in a group of people in both scenarios.
Right.
And I feel like I've got sufficient reason to choose to trust the specialist. I mean, I'm not going to try to convince you of that. That's a whole nother video in and of itself, but that's the conclusion that I came to. I mean, they don't claim to be infallible or inerrant, but I do believe that they are my best hope at understanding what is actually true.
There's no hope involved, but let's get the word hope out of there.
I'm hoping that these people who are not Christians are going to have a better understanding of my faith or their lack thereof with regards to Christianity than people who, right?
I have hope that this world is hopeless.
I am not saying that there aren't Christians who agree with scientific truth. In fact, some of the experts that I read in those areas, especially initially, were in fact Christians.
You don't say. You don't say. Oh, so great.
How interesting.
The experts I read were actually...
I believe the experts, they were Christian as well. But I read their studies and put my own context to it. Essentially, right? Without asking why are they studying this and still Christian?
Right.
Let's go a level deeper.
Right. Hello.
Making a decision to trust the specialist did not necessitate me no longer being a Christian. It's just that trusting them necessitated me becoming a different kind of Christian than I was. Eventually, in my case, following that rabbit hole led to my deconversion. It's a long story. There's several podcasts about it. It's probably going to be a bore. And listen, I could still be wrong.
Yeah, buddy. Yes.
Ask myself that on a regular basis.
Good.
What if I'm wrong? I mean, listen, maybe all these PhDs are deceived. Maybe they're all a victim to some sort of agenda, or they're perpetrating some sort of agenda. That's not the impression that I get. At the end of the day, I think you can develop your understanding of people who have deconstructed by listening to what other people say about them, or you can just listen to them and take them at their word.
All right, zoom in on my comment. The ambiguity isn't helpful. What specialist on what topics? Or are we just deconstructing 6-day creation and then lumping in everything else you don't like about Christianity? That then gets backdoored to only something conservative evangelical Christians believe. And then I said I would love to hear inspiring philosophy on this. And so my question is to him is, you don't have to believe in a literal 6-day creation to be a Christian. Okay, so you have an issue with the science. Okay, fine. So then what we're really discovering is six-day creation and constructs that are packaged as white patriarchy, conservative evangelicalism. The only issue is these constructs that are white patriarchal evangelicalism, conservative evangelicalism, fundamentalism, are the same in every other stream of Christianity. And you know what? We know what this is going to come down to. And he said it on his pod.
And what are we talking about specifically when we say...
We're talking about the LGTV. That's what we're talking about, right? Just be honest. Yeah, you're trying to make it sound deeper than it is. You didn't like Christianity's historical position with the topic of LGTV. I'm speaking in code so that YouTube doesn't strike this video.
And then he saw the scientific study where the penguins, the dude penguins, were doing the dude penguins in Alaska. And they were like, it happens in nature.
Animals do it, therefore it's natural, therefore the Bible is wrong. You know what animals also do? Hide your kids, hide your wife. Animals also lick their own balls, bud. Some animals eat their own feces. Some animals eat their own kids. Some animals eat their own wives or husbands. Animals do some goofy stuff, my guy. You can't say because animals do it in nature that therefore the Bible is wrong and I'm wrong. I mean, Christianity is wrong. Not to mention, buddy, and I'm turning up on Rhett. I'm not mad at you, Rhett, if you're watching this. He's probably not watching, but I'm not mad at you if you're watching this.
Just getting him further away from Christ.
Probably.
Poor dude.
I'm frustrated that this sort of conversation becomes exclusive to Western evangelical, which, by the way, I have all kinds of gripes with Western evangelicalism, and I could talk about those, right? And we have talked about those. We've brought on inspiring philosophy. We've talked about six-day creation. We've talked about these things. The issue is, if you go to other parts of the world, like anywhere Christianity has been, like go to Ethiopia and try to pander this, the penguins are therefore the Bible is wrong nonsense. Like go there and try to tell them that, therefore God got it wrong because it's in nature. Go to Egypt. Go to India. Come to where I'm from. Go to Armenia. Go talk to some Armenian. Talk to folks who are from other parts of the world, and what you'll quickly discover, whether they're Catholic, whether they're Eastern Orthodox, whether they're Oriental Orthodox, everybody from all walks of life in terms of the back are all consistent on these things, yet we only dismiss American Protestants as bigots and homophobes and closed-minded instead of engaging with, your issue isn't with this specific streamline of Christianity. Your issue is you think that you got it right. You think that God's wrong on this, right? And this is all throughout it. And so are there things that fundamentalism have gotten wrong? Yes, absolutely. There's some weird overlap with politics that's often unnecessary. There's some distortions of what does it mean to submit, and complementarianism that's been bastardized in many fundamentalist circles. We're seeing this stuff with the who's the family, the Duggars, right, and all that stuff. We see stuff in some churches that are rather mainstream that do some goofy stuff and have some abuses of power. However, to then backdoor all of Christianity as being wrong because of issues around six-day creation and LGTV, I just think is extremely disingenuous. Now, again, I would also say Christians shouldn't spend the majority of their time railing against the LGTV. That's also not helpful, right? If your entire ministry is just railing against a specific group of people, that also sounds goofy. Right? That doesn't make any sense either, right? You got 6 verses about LGTV and like 30 verses about sexual morality. And then people build their entire ministries about speaking out against LGTV and morality. There's all kinds of other topics that the Bible speaks of that promotes, like loving your neighbor, like being charitable, like being caring for the least of these, caring for the widow, loving people, so on and so forth, that are all throughout the scriptures that I think we should be known by those things. But I think whenever it comes down to this conversation, I just think it's very myopic And the type of language I'm hearing is not dealing with the issue of, is Jesus the Son of God? Did Jesus die and rise from the grave? Are the New Testament letters trustworthy? Is God's design for a one woman, one man marriage optimal and in the best interest of his creation? Those aren't the issues. The issues is, 6-day creation, and then you pull on that thread and it turns into all kinds of other stuff. And so I just don't think this stuff is helpful. But I would like to hear from you guys. I mean, what do you guys think? Like, we are in a place where we have such a narrow view of what we think Christianity is. And I think a lot of folks just need to travel. Like, I think a lot of folks need to travel and need to go make some other friends from some different ethnicities, some different cultures, and ask them about what their views are on this stuff, right? Because I think this is not exclusive to white patriarchal fundamentalism, right? Now, some of the stuff he was dealing with probably is kind of goofy and is specifically within that stream. But if you pull out a little bit, like, there's all kinds of other streams of Christianity, and yet there's unity on marriage. There's unity on the divinity of Jesus, right? There's essentials and there's not essentials. So anyway, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Hey, this is a segment from our daily after party stream. Consider partnering with us online for as little as $5 a month to get access to these daily after party streams completely unedited. You'll also get access to our podcast as they are streamed live into the community before anyone else gets to see them, get to interact with our guests, get access to our private Discord server, and a discount code for our store for as little as $5 a month. Ultimately, that will help towards helping us continue contextualizing the gospel using media and podcast here on YouTube. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.